All right, 10:45, we'll call the meeting to order, begin with the pledge. Commissioner Weiss, would you lead us through?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, good morning, everyone. First, we'll approve the agenda.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Gage to approve the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now we'll open our meeting up for public comments. Under our new guidelines, we have a limit of 3 minutes per person, so anyone wishing to address the Brown County Commission, have a chair and hear what you have to say. Anyone with public comment? Good morning.
Good morning. Dwayne Seabrass. I've lived in the county for 36 years. I'm a private beef cattle consultant, nutritional consultant. Have sold feed to over 650 beef cattle producers in this northeastern South Dakota area. And I'm here to express a concern, not to complain, but to express a concern about the Summit Pipeline contaminating the Missouri River water. When they take it across the river, they dig a hole, and they push it down the hole. Where's it going to go? We don't know where it's going to go. Something goes in the air, something goes in the ground. We don't know what happens to it. And there's only 7 ethanol plants in South Dakota signed up for the Summit project. Jeff Broin, who owns Poet, has 30 plants. What's he doing with his carbon? But the Webb Water Pipeline is a concern of mine. I live in Rolling Meadows, north of Fairgrounds here, that 33-house development. I have Webb Water there. Very thankful I have Webb Water there. As you know, the Webb Water comes out of the Missouri River. All 650 cattle clients that I work with, probably 95% of them have Webb Water. They have Webb Water for their cattle, but some of them have got the point where the Webb Water line's not big enough coming into their house, into their yard. They have to dig a well. When they dig a well, they have to go down to the Sundance Aquifer, which is 2,500 to 3,000 feet deep, to get 70 to 90 pounds of pressure, and we have many issues with the Sundance Aquifer. Sodium, pH, dissolved solids, iron, all those type of things so we're having to do different things to offset that quality of water, to water our cattle. But if we get, Missouri River is contaminated by the carbon pipeline, then it contaminates our Webb Water. That's our drinking water for all of us people in this area. I don't know how many people get it Webb, but there's a lot of them. I've been here, like I said, I've been here 36 years, and it's been longer than that the Webb Water has been present in this county, as well as all the surrounding counties. And I'm just really deeply concerned that something's going to pollute this river. In 1944, the Fix-Loan Act of Congress established the Missouri River Dam System for hydroelectric power, recreation, flood control, irrigation, and water consumption by humans and livestock. The water's clean, it's good water. My wife hauls water from our house to my daughter's house in town here because she can't drink the Aberdeen water. So I just want to make sure we keep our water clean, and somehow, I don't know what you can do as a county commission. You can declare a moratorium on eminent domain, a moratorium on the project. Something needs to come from you, and I'm not here to complain. I know we just need to get this project, which it makes no common sense at all. They're only going to go 4 foot deep in the ground to put the pipeline in. Well, you know the frost line in this area is 6 to 7 feet deep. And it just doesn't make any sense to try to ship this carbon across the country. Jeff Broin's taking care of it somehow, some way, and he's not shipping it any place.
I hate to cut you off, sir, but your 3 minutes are up, so
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Good luck to you. Hopefully
Thank
get
you.
something done.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much. Anyone else who speak before mention this morning?
You want us to talk on, like, the Summit stuff now, or wait till
This is public comment,
All right.
yes.
All you guys, up there, you guys know me. Jared Bosley, same thing, this Summit Pipeline stuff. And I guess we all been over the kind of the dangerous stuff like that, but let's go to the eminent domain thing, like this is for public. That's for public good, you know, like a water line, things like that, or maybe an oil thing to help benefit gas prices. This is strictly gonna make, few people very rich. And it's just taking, it's not gonna do anything for expansion of these ethanol plants. They already are good there. They can expand. They're just gonna take these carbon credits and put them to someplace that needs them, that is polluting the air. Well, it's to go for a private individual just to prosper off of our land and we get nothing to say is ridiculous. It'd be like me saying, well, Dennis looks like he's got a little extra pasture over there. I'm gonna throw 30 head of cows over there and use it. I mean, we're feeding the world. It's better for the people than tough shit for Dennis, I guess. And I think I could run it better. It's kind of the same thing as what's going on here. I mean, I know it's kind of that ain't gonna happen. That's a crazy thing. That's how crazy this is if this goes through the, you know, the eminent domain process or however it all works, which just kinda here for you guys to do the right thing and hopefully be against this stuff, I guess. That's my comments, and I brief, but you've heard all kind of the, this is just another side of the stuff, I guess, so. And thanks again for hearing us and doing what you guys can, so.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak before the commission this morning? Good morning.
Hello, Joe Pietz from Western Warner. I'm not a big egg producer, but I'm a small tract owner, and I'm expressing my concern about lack of communication, lack of transparency with Carbon Summit Solutions. And the issue that I have is they're coming near my house, but they're not technically crossing my land. So to this point, nobody from the company has contacted me to talk about the project, to tell me that it's coming near my property. I've had to rely on my neighbors to provide me with maps and fill me in with information. So my understanding is that you updated the zoning to require 1,500-foot setback from structures and 6-foot deep pipeline. According to the map I've got, doing a measurement off of Google Maps, I'm within 1,000 feet from my house to the pipeline, and yet, because it's not technically crossing my property, they haven't felt the need to come and inform me that that's going on. Furthermore, they've had surveyors out on neighbors' land that have traversed back and forth on the edge of my land, which is probably okay, but from the standpoint of unknown people out in the county doing unknown things, they're not even decent enough to stop and talk to the homeowners to say why they're there and how long they're gonna be there and what they're doing. I try to be eyes and ears for my neighbors, and I have to call them up and track them down and find out, well, okay, yeah, they do have permission to be there. And I just think that the lack of transparency is a real concern when we're at the stage they're trying to make a good impression on people to get a permit approved. You know, I know that if there's problems with one party not wanting to communicate while you're dating, once you get married, it's not getting better. So, but that's just a concern I want to bring forward to people here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else to come before the commission during public comment period here? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Amy Hazelhorst. My family farms just west of Warner, Summit Pipeline again. One of the concerns about this is we're getting into a really slippery slope. The Public Utilities Commission can only do what they can do based on what's given to them by the legislature. We all know that. The problem with this is, if they grant this permit, the PUC also inherently, they don't have a choice in it, they're granting eminent domain. And these guys have the ability to take that and make sections of our land. We have a section of our land that it goes right through the middle of it, and it's virtually useless to us. They said they're going to do it. What's ours is theirs, apparently, when they want to do this. So they said that the only way we can fight this after the eminent domain situation is granted through that permit is through the civil court. So that, again, costs all of us time, money, and a lot of stress. Unfortunately, South Dakota has some very lenient eminent domain laws. it's a very, very slippery slope. If this goes through, you don't think other companies are watching to see what South Dakota's gonna grant. I think it's a good thing. As a business owner, I'm all about free enterprise. I'm not about bullying, and these guys are bullies. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Let me run a scenario by you, and I'm sure that there'll be some that will say that, yeah, that'll never happen. This line is gonna run just to the north of me across Jared's farmland. And it's a winter morning, so it's still dark out. School bus is coming on the route, got 7, 8 kids on it. All of a sudden, the driver sees this big green cloud and goes, "What is this?" And about that time, he's dead because he can't breathe. We got kids on the bus. They're dead. It goes by my house, and me and my wife are dead. How does Scotty respond to something like that? How do you prepare for something like that? And like I said, I'm sure people are saying, well, that'll never ever happen. Well, I can remember a trailer house that a microburst rolled over and killed a couple of young girls. I can remember a flood on the north side of Aberdeen that would never happen because we're in flatland. But you got to think of the repercussions of what this can cause. We have tornado shelters, we're prepared for that. We have snow plows and we're prepared for the blizzard. But how do you prepare for this green cloud? What do the responders do? How do they prepare for it? Just my thought.
All right.
Thank you much.
Thank you, Freddie. Anyone else who wishes to speak this morning? All right, that brings us to the end of our public comment period. Next item on the agenda is bid opening for weed and pest chemicals. Christine, good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Chris. Morning.
I got the state bid, and it looks like we received one from Van Diest Chemical Supply. Alrighty, so, just at a quick glance here. Comparing it to the state bid, I went through and just kind of checked on the state bid. We're almost to the point where we could just about skip the submitting our bid. There's only like 3 or 4 that we use on here that aren't on the state bid, but I guess since Van Diest is the only one that submitted, I recommend we go with them and go off the state bid if they have anything that's a little bit, if there's anything priced less, but they're pretty good, Tom's pretty good about making sure he stays at or, right on the state bid.
He knows you're gonna use the state bid as a benchmark anyway.
Yeah, basically, so.
But if there is a bid on one of the chemicals that's lower than what the state bid is, you can use that
Yeah.
bid also, so
Right.
it can go either way with it.
Yeah,
So your recommendation is to award both, and then you just get the lowest one that's...
yeah, yep.
Move it. Second. Motion by Feldheim, second by Fikett to approve the quotes for chemicals. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
For you, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you. Next up, we have spray foam contractors. Good morning, Rachel.
Morning.
Morning.
Gonna do a little spray foaming?
I hope so. See what they say. So we kind of tweaked it after our last discussion to have them do 1 inch, 2 inch, and with and without the intumescent coating. So it looks like the first one is TW Construction. And I think we've got 2 bids here. We've got a cashier's check. For 1-inch foam insulation on the ceiling of the Bear Beef Barn, $36,400, plus they have sales tax on it, but we would take that off, right?
Right.
Yep.
So 36,400. 2-inch would be 70,800. So insulation, fire protective for 1 and 2-inch, 31,002. So Tony, that would be added on to either one to add the fire protection. So kind of the history of that is I was asking questions. In town, you're required to have the intumescent coating, by Aberdeen City. Outside, we don't have to. It is a nice feature, but on the other hand, I've been told 75% of people out on the farms aren't using it because it doubles your cost, as you'll see on here. So it's just kind of commission, and maybe we crunch some numbers and see whether it's something you want to add or not. I've been told it, and this is all secondhand, I'm not an expert and I don't pretend to be on that particular item, but they say it gives about 15 minutes more burn time if you do add the coating. So it's just kind of something we might want to consider.
What was the price, 31 what?
So to add the coating on either job 1 or 2 inches is 31,200. 70,800 for 2 inches of foam, and 36,004 for 1 inch. And Bar Spray Foam has the second one.
What's the name?
Bar, B-A-H-R, they're out of Groton.
And I'm sorry, what was TW out of?
Bath, right? Bath?
Bath, okay.
Have the check. Certificate of liability. So option 1, which was the spray 1 inch on the roof line only, 34,333. That has 2%. I wonder if that's excise we pay.
We'll pay contractor excise.
Okay, so that would be 34,333 and 20 cents. So that's 1 inch without intumescent. And then 1 inch with is 46,355, 92 cents.
That was 46,355.
46,355 and 92 cents. And then flip into the 2 inch without the coating is 68,666.40. And option 4, 2 inch with the coating, 80,689.12. And there's, maybe copies here. Yeah, they did, I got extra copies. This is the one from Bar. And I can make copies of the other one too for you. Considering it's such a big project, I would ask to defer it over the week. If we do want to do some checking on which route to go and make a recommendation to you. And also, I've been told there may be some support in the community for such a project, so maybe there would be some donations towards it, which would obviously help with that huge cost. I think last year we were between $20,000 and $25,000 to do this same project, but with the increases and everything, it's a tough pill to swallow, but one of those projects would be nice to get done, so. Is there any questions?
Agreed, I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, motion by Weeks, second by Fleischer to defer to review. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, bidders. Thank you, Rachel. All right, next up on the agenda, we've got the Director of Equalization with his annual conference.
Morning, Gene. You're up. Yes, sir.
Morning, Gene.
Morning.
You attracted quite a crowd.
room full of people don't give a rip what I have to say.
That's not true.
There's one of us here that doesn't.
The contract law 10/3/15, I'm supposed to meet with the commission the first meeting of April every year in regards to performance of my duties. So here I am.
All right.
Well, did you get that done?
Good to
Thank
go.
you.
One of the things we can talk about is, today is the last day of appeal to either consolidated or county boards. It's gonna be very, very, very quiet this year. So we may as well kind of organize when we're gonna have them. Boards can open, consolidated and county can both open on the 12th, which will be next Tuesday. Typically, we do the county in the morning to open and consolidated in the afternoon to open. The morning was pretty short. We'll organize the board, we'll do the things we always do the first day. We'll approve exempts, senior freezes, veteran roll racks, and the like. The afternoon, we'll open consolidated. I really got nothing except to form the board. It'll be a 5-minute meeting, and we'll get that out of the way. Open the 19th, we can run county boards. Now, whether we want to do it in the morning or in the afternoon. The last few years, we've done it in the morning and in the afternoon. We've had enough. This year, I only have, at the moment, 15 county board appeals. 11 of them are going to just be corrections, stipulations, recommendations. So at this time, I only have 4 disputed county board appeals, and hopefully maybe even can get some of those dropped. Maybe don't hear anymore, they can still appeal yet today. So I don't know if you want to meet in the morning that day.
Let's
to get
find
that
out.
out.
I think so.
Whatever.
That way we can I get letters out to those people, get them scheduled, and have some time to go. So the morning of the 19th will be very short. 26th, then we can go ahead and do consolidated, because we've got to bring the city and the school board in. There again, for the city of Aberdeen, I'm just amazed at how few appeals we had. I've had a few appeals, had a few withdraw after discussion, things like that. At the moment, I have 7 consolidated appeals. And also at the moment, I only have about 3, maybe 4 that are disputed. Typically, we do that in the afternoon, because we've got to bring the mayor and the school board member over, so.
Strawberry pie.
And, well, you know.
Cherry pie.
Cherries this year?
We'll see how that goes. And then we still have the 3rd of May available for either board to meet. Hopefully we don't meet that day, but we'll keep that open and available in case there's some cleanup work or something the board wants us to go through or what have you. We got our equalization factors after our audit. Our A factor is 0.85, so every adjustment we've made through assessments and such has been approved. We've kind of gotten the case where they're starting to believe in what we do, a little bit of revenue. We're trying to gain some level of probably respect, good rapport with the folks in revenue. There's been some recent turnover. Wendy Summers, the state property tax director. Mike Howdyshell, just within the last month, is now the new Secretary of Revenue.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty familiar with him, and actually in a lot better standing with him than we were 4 years ago when we had our thing going on. Our non-ag factor, 0.971. So we are, even with as much as we raise values, non-ag values, we are just barely over the threshold. So really probably could have gone, and maybe should have gone, a little higher yet. Our taxable value is only gonna be about a 3% rollback from our assessed value this year. So.
It'll be real interesting to see how the market develops over the next year.
Yep, if it keeps going, we'll see another increase next year, probably similar to what we did this year, and I thought this year was pretty strong. We have processed November, December, January, and February sales already. None of those months have been high enough on individual months, so I'm thinking we'll probably see another increase next year similar to this year. Otherwise, state of the office, we have a really good equalization staff. We have some newer members that are very eager to learn, some experienced folks that are very willing to teach. We got a really good situation in our office right now. I think we get along pretty good with the other offices in the county, or on this side, in the property tax state level. And, kind of where we are.
Yes. Go ahead, Dennis.
Is it okay to ask a question in regards to this pipeline thing, or should we have Gene come back when we talk about that?
Since we have it on the agenda, why don't we wait until we get to that? Would you
Stick
stop back?
around.
When we get down there?
Yeah.
All right. I'll come back.
Before he goes,
Go ahead.
just to underscore a couple things that we've done before, and it's important just to kind of keep talking about that, and it's reflective in what you've got for appeals as well as what you've got for adjustments that people have agreed to, that it's really important. I think people, at least in Brown County, have understood after we've gone through this process for so many years, that your office is not there to raise their value, you're there to get it right. And so any reluctance that people have, with communicating, is something that should be set aside, because your office and your folks and you are more concerned with getting it right. And almost as frequently as you might raise one or two, you've also lowered them in the past from recent experience. And if they have, anybody who's a property owner has questions or concerns, they're more than welcome to come and have those conversations with you to understand the process, because it is a little complicated. And it's, there for the benefit. It's there to try and get it right across the board. Nobody likes paying taxes, but making sure that, you pay your fair share under the statutes is what your office and what we do through the equalization process. If there's something in dispute, then it can, could, and should come to that point. But if it's just a question of, if there's square footages that might be wrong, or just having, differences if there's buildings that have been removed and those type of things, those are things that can be corrected and stipulated, have been and should be going forward.
And we're gonna have some of those through our board, gonna be some corrections, some stipulations, some things that, you get to be a point where our office has 5 appraisers to go out to take care of 28,000 parcels. So we don't get everywhere every year, or even every 5 years, or every 8 years. And there's places that do, things happen we don't know about that we probably have under-assessed. And there's things that since we've been there last time, and we've been raising things on a trend basis that aren't keeping up with the market, that there's places out there really should appeal. I hate to advertise people coming and talk to me, but, there's places that are, have improved over 10 years, and there's places that are just 10 years older as of now, and we don't catch them all either way. Either things are deteriorating or things that sometimes get improved that we don't know about. So, there again, hate to drum up business, but on the other hand, if you're overvalued, we got no problem coming out and take a look at it and see what happens. I do hear reference to assessments go up because the county needs more money. No matter how high assessments go, the county can't get any more than they're frozen at and capped at. So, that's one of the big arguments that comes up. Assessments went up because county all of a sudden thinks they need a bunch of money, and it doesn't work that way. So, there's a lot of teaching goes on in our office, both with the public, again, with, like I said, with our new employees. are very eager to learn, and even them, there's a lot of people come into their office either as new employees or taxpayers, or I think sometimes even to a point maybe commissioners that aren't even exactly sure what we do and how it works and some of that, and we do a lot of explaining as to, our office does a lot of teaching, and that's okay.
And that's good, and that's the one other point that I wanted to make, and I had this conversation with someone, last week that was asking me, right now, commercial properties and homes have seen a fairly significant increase, which we haven't experienced in Brown County and across the state in a number of areas. And I think most people have an understanding of it. Just to clarify, the increase that you see in your assessment doesn't necessarily directly correlate to an increase in your taxes. It's more a function of what your increase is relative to the average for the entire class going forward. So if you increase by 10% and everybody increases by 10%, it's essentially a net zero when it comes to what your tax burden is going to be. Now, there are certain properties like lake property and small acreages that have a desirability factor that often push them a little bit faster than some of the market, so that may increase the burden for some of those properties a little bit more, but it's not proportionate to the increase in the value, it's proportionate to the increase over the average.
The relationship to each other.
Correct.
Is what we're looking at, and that's what equalization is about. It's to make sure that equal properties pay equal value. If fractional parts of the county or neighborhoods of the county increase at a faster rate, the value or tax burden actually shifts a little bit. But the overall tax burden, overall taxes collected don't change regardless of where the assessments go. And that's a pretty thorough misunderstanding of property taxpayers.
Well, I appreciate that. I
think
just think this is a good opportunity to reiterate those points. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think what it comes down to is that people that really pay attention to their assessment notice, and if they see a substantial increase, then they don't realize that the mill levy set probably isn't gonna raise their taxes a whole lot, but it kinda raises a red flag, and you could possibly see more appeals next year than this year because of a potential 10 to 15% increase in assessed value, and the people don't put that in perspective that it's a shift. When you add what the county can add in, as far as the limit is concerned, the people don't make that connection that somebody else is gonna pick up some of the taxes somewhere, so there's constantly gonna be shifts. So.
The only place you do see a correlated increase in the tax burden versus the assessment is in the school general, because the more local effort you have, the less state aid you get. But otherwise, everything else is, I'll just redistribute amongst taxpayers to meet the budget. But again, I don't know how detailed you want to get in this meeting.
And that in itself is all a part of this equalization, is for, as far as the way I look at it, it's for all across the entire state of South Dakota to get a fair and equitable value on both ag land, commercial property, and homes, and it's all triggered and targeted towards funding for education. And so when you've got probably anywhere from 55 to 80% of your property tax going to fund education, the state's going to continue to hang on to that funding mechanism, which basically spreads it out to the whole entire state of South Dakota and all the counties, which puts the director of equalization, the county commission, in a position to get fair and equitable values.
And as long as they're starting down that road, that's what that equalization factor is about. To get your taxable versus your assessed value is for overlapping districts. So for instance, Groton School District sits in 4 different counties. We've got some in Brown, some in Day, some in Spink, and actually even a little bit in Clark County. And what they want to do with that factor is to make sure each of those counties, contribution to the Groton School District is assessed at the same level of assessment. So that's what by that taxable value never matches that assessed value, because after audit, they wanna make sure that the level of assessment is the same in everything within those overlapping districts.
And there hasn't been,
To the extent
in
they
30
can.
years, there hasn't been the intestinal fortitude in Pierre, in the administration, to change the funding mechanism for funding education, and they're gonna keep loading it down on the property taxpayers until they got the counties broke.
All right.
To that end, I guess that's all I have.
All right.
Thank you, Gene.
Yeah.
Can we get a motion, to acknowledge the annual?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Piker, second by Weiss to acknowledge the annual conference with the Director of Equalization. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Gene.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
See you next week.
Yep.
All right, next on the agenda, we have right-of-way requests.
You want him to come back for the other part too, just to see him next week?
He'll hang around.
Okay.
How you guys doing?
Morning, Dirk.
There's no time, so you're not
I
late.
know, I'm digging this, you know, it doesn't matter, you just gotta come off and hang out all day and they'll get you on, it's like flying standby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Super.
Well, let's talk about putting some stuff underground, huh? Oh,
Yeah.
Just kidding. We got 3 different sets of right-of-ways here. The first one is the one we touched on just briefly, and there was nothing about this particular, right-of-way that was significant. It was just the timing of it, and I wanted to review a couple state laws, that pertain to it, and this is to put a drain tile under County Road 16, clear up on the north end.
Yep.
Side question, does it help you guys if you have this stuff ahead of time?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's in the
Absolutely.
packet.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good. That's Kathy making me behave a little better, so just so you know, but
Not an
anyway.
easy task.
That helps us, thank you.
But it's basically gonna go diagonal through the road, that's 1 mile, it's on 16, 1 mile south of the North Dakota line up there, and it's for a drain tile. I don't have any issue with it, we've done a lot of them in the past, it's just I wanted to double check to make sure we weren't breaking the law and how we were permitting that. So I would recommend that one.
So is there a depth or anything that county requires, and how deep in the ditch, or?
Didn't it say 6 feet on the sheet?
It's on there, the bigger challenge we have, and I also had this conversation with the carbon pipeline thing, is you tend to lose some of your cover when they go under ditches. I mean, makes pretty good sense, if they're not cognizant about it and they gotta take it down, so that's where the problem is. Usually they're at 5 feet though. The next one is
Separate, or you all one?
well, these I would like to do as one. These are 4 for Northern Valley. They're all that same thing. If that's okay
I'll
with
move the
Kathy.
drain tile.
Oh,
Second.
I'm sorry.
Okay, motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss to approve the drain
Am I
tile.
going too fast, maybe?
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
I
Motion
just stopped
carries.
here, you wanted,
I know.
I didn't figure you wanted to pop in, 'cause
I
they're
don't,
different.
they're all different. Okay, these next 4 are for Northern Valley. It's all the same stuff. They're just updating the old copper to broadband and expanding the
Making
not
their way
even
around.
expanding it. They're just going through the whole system. So if you looked at these a little bit, you'll see they're all up on Road 7, 7A, 16. Basically on 16, starting across from the refuge and going up to State 10. That's the one on 16.
Putting a lot of stuff on the ground. Should.
Yeah, well, it's better than it being above ground.
Mm-hmm.
20 years from now,
Ask me how I know.
we're gonna, yeah, I know. You're gonna be running out of space. This one on Road 7, I'm just gonna point it out because it's a little interesting. He did these all by road. So, 7, one piece of it's for 3 miles, that's west of 16.
Yeah.
Over to 16. And then if you look at that other map, it's a little misleading, because it looks like it's on State 10, but it's, State 10 right there turns and goes north,
Mm-hmm.
and then this 3 is
Dogs off.
our Road 7, going over to going over to, 37, so. But all the same thing, these aren't, they're just updating the existing utilities at 16, 7A. That's off of Road 18, this is Houghton, just 7A going over to, almost all the way over to the Sand Lake.
I'll move them.
Motion by Weeks, second by Gage to approve the Northern Valley right away. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
There was a lot less stuff in the right of way when I was doing this 40 years ago.
Yeah. A lot less corn probably
Yeah.
too, or?
Yeah.
No.
Easily. Thanks for noticing.
And then the last right away I got's for Web Water. It is, oh yeah, it's on, it's actually right where the speed limit changes, up there on Roosevelt. Remember what fun that was? That's,
Can we increase that today too then, or is that?
Yeah. Where's Rachel? She'll approve.
yeah. So, but this is just the bore, and then they're going cross-country to get up here south of, I can't remember what that's called, but right in there northwest of the avenues or whatever. So,
Is
it's
that
just-
part of, Dave Schumacher's development in it?
It's not, it's,
Hobby Drive area?
yeah, what the heck's the guy's name? He
Well,
just-
I'll move it.
It's for a single residence, it's just a tap off of the one that's on, County 12 where they're Roosevelt and run out to the middle of the section.
I'll move it.
Okay, we have a motion by Piker, second by Weiss to approve the Web Water right away.
Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I like this one.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is an agreement for a railroad crossing out on, 379th, which is by the former, Concord elevator going up to the landfill. This is gonna update the system and put in flashing and, arms and the whole 9 yards. So this agreement just covers that we're gonna contribute 10% to the project. So that'll be in kind probably, it'll be a little paving and some signing and stuff like that. But it's 10% of $248,173, so roughly $25,000 is what the county will have into that project. And I think it's a good project. We have 2 of these this year, that one, and then hopefully the one on 14 on the east side of HEP over there where they got the new crossing, so.
Do it.
Question.
Question?
Yep.
Go ahead.
It's not real deep from the railroad tracks back to the Highway 212.
Right.
What is the plan as far as during the middle of harvest, when the trucks really
For
pile
storage.
up there, does the DOT have a plan for that backup?
They have a plan, I can't tell you exactly how they arrive at that, but they have a distance for storage. And in certain cases, they would add to, and now you got me out in somewhere I shouldn't be talking, but if you would add along US 12, I would assume if you had to add more storage, make that. But I don't know that for a fact.
But they've had that all, obviously had that all in consideration in designing that thing.
And you have, whenever that comes up, I always think about the town of Vanilla, and that's because I used to drive past that when I was a kid once a week. And the elevator, if you're driving down the highway, because the elevator sits next to the railroad line that was on the section line, and the highway comes up and you're gonna crash into the elevator, then at Vanilla, you kick out and go around the elevator. Well, it's a little, I mean, we have the same problem on our County 10, all the way up and down through the county with access, and the just way that we're dealing with the way stuff was built 100 years ago. I gave you a big circle there, but there is a plan, and, you know, they'll have time, they'll have their times, and they have a way they come up with that.
Well, just hopefully the highway patrol isn't out there bragging on them because they're backed up 10, 15 trucks back and trying to get in there and the train's going through.
Right.
Because there's been a lot of issues out on Highway 12.
Yeah, and I don't have, again, I'm drawing some assumptions here, but that's a mainline run. It's not like getting caught over here on Klein Street where they're backing a train into the yard or something and it's going slow, you know, that's at full rail speed and stuff out there. I'm not saying exclusively, but,
Thank
so
you.
how long, how long that intersection's closed is also a factor in that too. Okay, so I recommend that we approve these. Can you guys sign these now? There's 2 originals, and then I need them both back right now so I can send them on the process.
I'll move it.
Okay.
No, I moved it, sorry.
Oh, I'll second. We have a motion by Weeds, second by Fiker. Scott, did you have a
Just,
question?
I don't know, Dirk, maybe you can comment on, I know starting next week, the Highway 12 from
Yes.
Aberdeen to Ipswich project is starting to add turning lanes and more room for those
Yep.
types of things, so that may help that cause that Commissioner Fiker's talking about, so.
And just to expound a little tiny bit on what Scott's talking about, you remember, we went through quite a process to come to some conclusions on what the most value you can get out there. And when I say we were involved in the decision-making. Obviously, it's not our road, but, so they're doing a lot of things out there, targeting specific areas where there's congestion, or you have extra truck traffic that affects the average speed of the cars, going out there and things like that, and that's what that's trying to alleviate. And then moving forward, as that comes to town, we'll have to see what ends up happening at 12W and things like that, because I'm assuming we'll get some traffic pushed onto our stuff, so on and so forth. I think that's all I had to
Okay,
address.
we need to take a vote. We have a motion by
sorry.
Weeds, second by Fiker to approve the DOT agreement. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
No, I'm the one that's interrupting usually. See what else I got on there.
Environment update.
Yep, we're still crushing. That's going really well. We kinda cleaning up a few piles and just stockpiling, getting stuff ready. Getting a little better vision on what we're gonna be able to, get the specifics of what we're gonna be working on and that kind of stuff. But nothing too frantic right now. Our auction's going slowly and on JARC for some really fine equipment. And, outside of that, that's about it, unless you guys have questions. I do wanna make one comment, and some of you are gonna think I'm being nuts here. But with Gene in here having his annual conference, I forgot that they switched assessors don't get appointed anymore. You have your annual conference. And we still get appointed at highway superintendents. And this is nothing to do with how I think the upcoming elections might go. But I am gonna have an anomalous situation where my reappointment's gonna come up on the same day that you're seating a new commission. So, what I'm getting at is, any of you guys that are up for re-election are thinking about voting no when my reappointment comes up.
I'm not
I
gonna
have
vote
no-
for you.
Well,
I don't think he's gonna vote for you.
So, that was just, I just found it kinda odd, and I'm, like I said, not knowing what kind of agenda the new other candidates would have, and if there is some turnover, there's potential to have 3 different commissioners, and if they're all 3 mad at me when they come in here, it'd be a short 2023 for me, so that's my only comment about that.
Thank you for voicing your concern.
That's right.
Yeah, we see a word here.
Never know. So, you guys got any other questions about anything?
You'll be in the office a little later today, or?
Should be.
So you're the one that grants,
I gotta talk with you about.
Okay.
so you're the one that grants permission for putting signs out there in front of the highway shop center?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Probably not.
Normally, that would've been a no.
I'm not sure what the question is.
You're being pretty cautious.
Yeah, very cautious. All right.
All right.
Everybody good?
Keep up the good work.
All right.
Thanks, Dirk.
And thank you for doing that.
I'll put in a good word for you.
Please do. Only need 3.
All right, sorry, next on the agenda, we have, application for party status before the South Dakota Public Utilities Commission regarding the Summit Carbon Solutions. Application for permit to construct a carbon dioxide transmission pipeline. Dennis?
I guess I'd make a motion that, we apply for, party status.
Kathy, Kathy, this is,
Go ahead,
can
ma'am.
someone hear me?
Go ahead, ma'am.
So this is Becky Michelson, and I joined rather late.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just.
Kinda hit and miss.
Are you still there?
Kathy, can you hear me through your speakers?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep,
Yes.
now we can hear you.
Okay, so I joined late. Okay, so I'm Becky Michelson. I joined late this morning, so I was not able to hear the opening comments regarding, the pipeline, but I just wanted to give you a little bit more information, potentially from not only a concerned resident of Brown County, but also a family member that's impacted by the proposed CO2 pipeline in a neighboring county. And, I joined this morning in opposition of this, and I wanted to give you just some highlights that may have been covered, but they may not have been. I know you guys have had a lot of meetings with Summit themselves, but perhaps really not hearing from a resident or an impacted landowner directly. So I'm extremely dissatisfied, and it's very concerning that the PUC is going to allow or consider to allow and grant permission to these private companies for the ultimate underlying objective to make significant profits at the cost of someone else's private property. You may or may not know that the federal government has provided significant incentives for such projects, I think it's called the 45Q, to be an enticement for these private companies to forge forward with harassment tactics to do whatever necessary to meet these aggressive project timelines. These corporations or private investors don't really care about us over here in South Dakota. All they care about is that they're gonna make really big money off of us, and it's a game of follow the money. It really is. So I want you to think about for a minute what it means to be a landowner here in what I consider the great state of South Dakota, and what this means by these impacted projects that are seeking to take land away with limited to no landowner rights or protection. The Midwest was settled by our forefathers that agreed to live on this land, farm the land, and provide an income to raise families, feed the world, but most importantly, to care for and protect this land so that we can pass it on to the next generation for them to do the same. Private property and private property rights is the very basis of the foundation of our country and freedom. This carbon dioxide is a plant-based nutrient, as you all very well know, as being probably agricultural folks, is to use, grow full and healthy plants, but in turn, they emit oxygen for us and animal life. But yet the government has set up these programs that will pay people and businesses to pay money to put these nutrients back in the ground so plants can't utilize it. So these folks out in California that these ethanol plants are saying that they can, sell their ethanol at a premium, you can't be a go green person and, be in support of these CO2 pipelines. It just doesn't work. There's studies right now going on in Colorado that are considering other uses and innovative ideas for CO2, such as using it in cement and metals and things of that nature, if it truly is of concern. I know that people have talked about values of land. I was on the call earlier today for that. Most farmers would not want to have this on their property, as when the land is disturbed, it will reduce the yields for a lifetime. There have been reports already produced by the Iowa State University regarding the Dakota Access Pipeline that shows that there's been extensive soil disturbance from construction activities and have had adverse effects from mixing of the topsoil and the subsoil, as well as having the large machinery coming across property. These damages are not there for a short temporary time frame, as Summit may have alluded in their presentations. They're there for a lifetime. This soil is irreplaceable. So when we talk about on the agenda this morning about, you know, the value of land and things of this nature, from a landowner perspective, this will decrease the property's land value and be less appealing to potential buyers down the road. Who would want to purchase a property that carries hazardous materials that has little to no liability insurance protection? I think someone said that the color of CO2 is actually green. Actually, CO2 is considered a hazardous material. It is odorless and colorless, and it's heavier than air. So, if a leak were to occur, and we have a lot of farming operations with cattle, it would form an invisible cloud of deadly gas. It would go to the lowest lying areas, and it would kill all of the humans and animals to die. So think about a farmer who has a feedlot, and they have 100 head of cattle, and they don't know that there was a potential leak. They have all these cattle down there, and they suddenly all die. Who's going to be responsible for that? Who's going to have enough liability insurance to cover that? From a county's perspective, you will have to have your rural fire departments, rural emergency departments that are properly staffed to go out there and perform a reach and assist in the event there's a leak. I think one gentleman said that, you know, we always talk about the what ifs, but they may never happen. It's already been proven that pipelines will corrode and they will leak. It's a proven fact. All pipelines will eventually leak. You have huge equipment. I know you guys are looking at a 6-foot area on the ground. Three years ago, we had combines sunk 5 feet in the ground. If that happens on your property, you cannot get enough standard farm or personal liability insurance that will cover injuries, damages, or death on your property. It's a fact. Unless you're willing to pay $100 premium for $1,000 of insurance. A couple other items here, and then I'll close up because I don't want to take too much of your time, but I really want you to think about what this means. During the 1950s, Pacific Gas and Electric Company that was operated out of California had a natural gas distribution pipeline. They used hexavalent and chromium additive in their compressor stations as a corrosion inhibitor that was then dumped into the water. No one knew it about at the time. Later caused significant health issues and death by the drinking water. There has been studies that have proven that it will contaminate water at some point. Carbon capture is an experimental technology, regardless of whether they tell you that it's been around for 20 or 30 years. Not at this capacity. They're going to take this carbon dioxide, pressurize it until it turns into a liquid. I think it's at like 2100 psi, if I'm not mistaken. Send it through a long, high-pressure pipeline, then pump it into the ground about a mile underground up in North Dakota, hoping that it's going to stay there forever. There are no guarantees. The U.S. American public knows almost nothing about this and the residing effects of a CO2 pipeline in the future. So I would like you to think about what is this risk and what would you put this on your private property. And lastly, I think someone mentioned about eminent domain. The PUC will say that they have no rights in eminent domain. That may be true from their responsibilities, but it's really not accurate, as they have the power to grant or deny the permit, which would then say no eminent domain. Eminent domain should never be used for a private, for-profit company to come in and use our private property that's not considered for public use. It's not like our rural water or it's electricity, and this is a short-term thing. I'm going to estimate that this is going to be a 20-year thing, if less, and then there'll be some other, major technology advancement down the road that they will come up with. And this pipeline is there forever. This isn't like we're going to do it for a short-term period. They're here. They want to capitalize on the 45Q tax credit. They're going to make really big money, and then we here are stuck with this pipeline in our land forever. So I want to close out here, encourage you to think about the foundation of our country, our property, private rights, and freedoms, why we live in what I call the great state of South Dakota. And as elected members of the people, I hope you will step up and be in opposition of this carbon pipeline. At the very least, sign up for party status as an intervener. It is a one and done. You don't sign up today, actually the deadline is by Friday, there isn't another opportunity for tomorrow. You can't sit back and let someone else, deal with the problem. And as one concerned citizen said on here that, they have received limited communication, these timelines have moved so fast that I'm assured that there is very little people in the state of South Dakota that even know what is happening and the impact that it could have to them, and the line is always moving. The route has changed, I can't even tell you how many times from the original proposal that I've seen it. So when you sign up for party status, it just means you have a seat at the table for future down the road. So as more citizens come to you with their concerns, you at least have that space at the table instead of just closing the chapter and saying it's somebody else's problem. We need to care for each other. We need to care for our neighbors. It's not only about caring and protecting about what is yours, it's about caring and protecting South Dakota as a whole. And truly, that's what has been lost by this country. So with that, I'll close and I say, please consider signing up as party status, but you need to act quickly. Deadline is Friday, and don't let politics get in the way of doing what's right for the residents of Brown County. That's it.
Thank you very much.
I would move that we, have our chairman sign the application for party status, the intervention.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Ernest
Discussion.
wanted me to, he couldn't be here today, but just
Right.
so everybody knows what we're getting into.
Can you sit down, Russ? Would you mind, please? Yeah, because I wanted some clarification on this.
So,
Here too, so thank you.
in the PUC, and I think a lot of people have this, what's it mean when you intervene? It means that we intend to actively participate in this. Discovery, be subject to depositions, and attend in person. So, Ernest did the research. Basically, to be an intervener in a court case, you have to have an interest that's affected, that's not adequately protected. So that's the scope of Brown County's intervention in this. Now, I never did see the final application, but what I'm getting at is we've heard eminent domain thrown around a lot. I'm not sure what Brown County's interest is in that. So, if landowners want to intervene on their own, the application uses that as an example, they're free to do that, and then they can voice their concerns about the eminent domain. I think the application we have is about our ordinances. If that's adequately protected, we don't really have a dog in this fight. So,
What about the voters in Brown County?
Wait till you
Hold
call
on.
and let
Hold
the
on.
state's attorney finish, please.
So, this is what our application is. So, just so everybody knows, that we don't represent individual landowners, we represent Brown County. Now, that doesn't seem right, but it is what it is. So, as far as the safety of Brown County citizens, that's an interest. The enforcement of our ordinances, that's an interest. The private rights of the landowners is not. So just so everybody's aware of that, because I don't want these folks to, think that now we're going to go protect that right and then not intervene on their own. They really should look into that. So.
Yeah, we got that.
Okay.
Now, my understanding is, we have our ordinances, the 1,500-foot setback, 4 feet, 6 feet deep. I understand this is a federally backed contract.
Correct.
Okay, if it's federally backed, they do not have to follow our ordinances. So if they want to put it 500 feet from my driveway, they can do it.
Yep, it could be preempted.
Which is not what I would really think is a safe thing for Brown County when the federal government all of a sudden says, well, we don't care if you live 100 yards down, we're gonna put the damn pipe through there. I don't believe that's in the best interest of our citizens.
We don't have a lot of power here, is another thing.
But I think we should at least have a voice at the PUC. I mean, I don't think this commits us, does it? I mean, this is just saying that we have a voice at the PUC to kind of...
It does. Well, it commits us to, if we need to devote resources to it, we will.
But I understand there's a lot of these counties, and I shouldn't say a lot, I've got, I don't suppose, probably 15 different messages on my phone from other counties that are trying to do this same similar situation. And all they want is a voice for the PUC to try to discourage this thing to happen, is the way I'm understanding this, and I don't know how far that probably still commits us. I mean, you're...
And our scope can only go as far as what Brown County's interest is.
Commissioner Flick.
I guess, in all respect, Ross, to you and to Ernest, the part that puzzles me is that we've got counties, McPherson County, we've got Edmonds County, we've got Spake County, and my understanding is that, matter of fact, it's on the emails that Von Beck, the state's attorney, and we're not even asking the state's attorney to sign this document, we're asking the county commission to sign the document. Why is it that Von Beck, the state's attorney in Edmonds County, is signing the document, and in McPherson County, Austin Huffman is signing the document, and as I understand in Spink County this morning, Vic Fishback is going to sign the document. Why are here we sit in Brown County, and all these counties look at us, and we're not going to sign this document by recommendation of the state's attorney's office? I'm confused. I mean,
well, Ernest wanted to be here today, something came up and he couldn't be here, so I'm basically just filling it. He did all the research on this, and I'm sure he networked with the surrounding state's attorneys. But as to his analysis, I think he would stand by it. I mean, he's not the type that is going to just go along to get along. So those are individual decisions that the state's attorneys in those counties probably made on their own. So I won't criticize that, I won't attack that. This is what Ernest had discussed last week with myself briefly, and like I said, I wish he could be here today. But the decision to intervene, we're staying out of that. We just want everybody to know what they're getting into.
Go ahead.
Make another comment, and I think somebody alluded to the value of the property. If I had a potentially hazardous pipeline crossing my land, I would probably, if I offered it for sale, wouldn't have the potential to receive the same amount of benefit or sale price for that property, and to me, that would be a direct effect on it could be potentially a direct effect on the assessed value of that property if our director of equalization or a director of equalization in a county that was affected by this pipeline lowered the value of that property due to the fact that there's a hazardous pipe on there. And I don't know if they will or won't, or what the Department of Revenue might say would affect the county, because we wouldn't generate as much property tax off of it. So I think the county in several ways, whether it's emergency services, whether it's value of the land, whether it's a number of things, I think the county does have an interest and should be a part of the intervention for those reasons.
And that's fine. The reasons don't really matter. It's that you have a reason. And you can connect the dots on that one. But as far as the eminent domain stuff, we just need to be clear that we aren't going to be able to provide legal services for individual landowners regarding eminent domain.
We're not asking that.
Yeah.
We're asking that you represent
There's no one here
the
that's
county.
asking that. We were at that PUC meeting, and when that Scott Nelson was done talking there, his exact words were, "We've been in all these meetings, the scope of the people is kind of against this. So we kind of need the county commission to step up and give, just if you don't say nothing, it seems like you're for it." And there's a lot of counties going, I know Minnehaha's applying for the same stuff too, and getting in, no one's here, we all got our own lawyers already to fight our own personal stuff. This is another dog in the fight, just to kind of show that this is not a real good idea for the PUC. You guys ain't gonna have it little to no extra work. It's not anything for coming that way. This is strictly to do what's right for the people. You guys have a hell of a lot more interest in this than, you know, I'm sure of that.
I'm not here to make a recommendation one way or the other. I just want everybody to be aware that what the standards are. You have to have an interest that's affected and not adequately protected.
Wouldn't
And
it
if we can
impact,
demonstrate that we meet that, then this decision is one that the board should.
If we don't do this, how then can we enforce the ordinances that we have already on the books? As far as setbacks, et cetera, et cetera. The truth that we don't, zoning and planning has set these various ordinances and county commission has approved them. If we don't have any interest in it, how can we even enforce our ordinances?
Eventually, we would have to pursue our civil remedies in that area, once the pipe goes in the ground. There's no violation until the pipe's in the ground. So, I'm not saying this is a bad idea, I'm just here for informational purposes.
Where does this information come from? Is there a state law
For,
what you're just telling us about?
for the PUC, for intervening?
Yes.
Well, it's in the Public Utilities Commission, the pamphlet they handed out at the meeting last week.
Is it a state law, or is it just somebody's opinion?
And then, as far as the legal standard for intervention, if this were a court case, and the PUC is a quasi-judicial body, so using that same standard, yes, there needs to be a demonstrable interest.
Again, where does this come from? Is there state law that says this?
There's case law that
Case
Ernest,
law.
there's case law that
Ernest
Ernest
put out a
quoted.
memo last week.
Right.
Go ahead, Doug. So rather than do the intervention type thing, can Brown County just pass a moratorium and say we don't want it? I mean, that doesn't put any belly, I mean, that's just the commission saying, hey, we don't want you here.
What you do basically is two things, you can make
If it's
comments,
enforceable.
or you can do both. You can,
Well, it seems to me like we'd be less responsible if we just say to the PUC, we don't want it. That way we're not considered to be intervening, we're just stating as a county that we prefer not to have the pipeline come through here.
The option, submit a comment without intervening, as that was in their literature they distributed last week as well, just to let the Public Utilities Commission know where we stand. But if we intervene, we're a party, and everybody needs to understand that. When we're called down to Pier, when they want to depose Scott Vader, we need to know what we're getting into here.
Or if it's determined that we don't have standing, then they can disregard
Exactly.
ours and everyone else's.
Commissioner Gage.
But then, is the commission living up to its obligations by doing it that way? I mean, you've been elected to represent the citizens and residents of Brown County and to protect property values, et cetera, provide services, et cetera, et cetera. If we're gonna sit here on our hands and let them do what they wanna do, and then after the horse is out of the pasture, and they've got the pipe in the ground, we say, oh, by the way, we think that's transgressing against Brown County residents' rights.
Commissioner Gage, you have a
I had a
question?
question. I thought at that meeting, though, they said that if we weren't on party status, that nothing that you say actually is submittable.
Correct.
I mean, that's what I can't remember the gentleman's name from the PUC, but he said in order, so if we just draft a letter.
Submit comments.
Yeah, we can submit comments,
Yeah,
but
but-
they said that even the comments that were made at those meetings, that they can't technically use, it has to be hearings that they have there. So even if we would submit a letter and not be on party status, technically, they don't even have to read the thing. I mean, it's what my understanding out of that meeting. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I understood it.
Right. If you don't have status, I don't think, that's just like sending in 10,000 signatures, they're gonna put it in the wrong file.
Well, I just say, if we're just gonna draft a letter and not be on party status, I just wanna make sure that they, for certain, that they're gonna actually have to be able to read it and use it. I mean, otherwise, I think we have to go the other way.
Commissioner Pike.
well, you know, in the discussion, in the memorandum that we got from the state attorney's office, it says that the PUC is a quasi-body, judicial body, therefore it is appropriate to apply. It doesn't say that you must apply, it doesn't say that, it says that it is appropriate to apply. Well, what does appropriate mean? to me, it's a matter of the county having the ability to be available if the PUC has questions or specific to Brown County, and whether or not Brown County feels in general that they have some skin in the game, whether it's planning and zoning, whether it's property values, whether it's safety, all of those things. And obviously, the other counties, our surrounding counties, believe that the county, and disregard that we're not representing the general run of the farmers, whether it's whoever up and down the southwest side of Brown County, the individuals, they have already taken action themselves to protect their interests by hiring attorneys and by co-oping, getting together and hiring an attorney. This is strictly Brown County's interest. Safety, values, planning and zoning, things that the county could be directly affected by the decision of the PUC. Brown County Commissioners want somebody at the table. Maybe we need to hire a private attorney, pay a private attorney to take our information and our concerns for Brown County to the PUC should the questions come up. I mean, it isn't, we don't have to have the state's attorney's office go down there. We don't have to have the state's attorney sign the document. These folks realize that you're not gonna represent them in a case of eminent domain. If that is the real issue, this is, again, to repeat, redundant. The safety of the county, emergency services, the value of the county's land that's gonna be affected, potentially be affected, and the planning and zoning issues. I think we need to sign the document. Let's call the question.
Anything else, Ross?
No.
Okay, Ross has conveyed the concern of the state's attorney. Are there any other questions before we call for the vote? We have a motion and a second.
Just a comment. I appreciate the fact that Ross did some research, and he very well may be right. If the PUC determines that we don't have standing, that's a decision that the PUC is gonna have to stand on. But I think at this point, it affords us an opportunity to participate if we have the opportunity, and there's several other counties that are taking advantage of that. And if it's determined that we do have standing, I think it's appropriate that we do participate. And if they determine that we and the other counties don't have standing, that's a decision they'll have to make. So I'm in full support of applying for party status at this point.
Okay, so the motion before us today is to apply for party status before the South Dakota Public Utilities Commission regarding the Summit Carbon Solutions application permit to construct a carbon dioxide transmission pipeline. Is that understood by everyone? That's the motion. And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We will apply for party status for the South Dakota Public.
One of the concerns that probably would come up is this pipeline keeps changing their routes. Are they gonna change their route when they run into a county that doesn't want it?
Probably only to find the same
All of
opposition.
a sudden, if Brown doesn't wanna get involved, all of a sudden this thing's coming straight up Brown County into North Dakota, I would see that there would be less restriction for them, so I would be a little concerned about that happening if we don't get them.
If a state doesn't want to participate.
Take the path of least resistance.
Right.
And I would also make a motion that we sign a letter of comment
No, that's fine.
to the docket, and that we have the chairman and each one of the county commissioners sign the comment document. I would move that.
Okay, with a motion by Pfeiffer, second by Gage, to sign the letter of comment. Is that what you refer to it as? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Ross, thank you for your input. Thank Ernest for his time and effort in making the recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
This group thanks the commission. You know, our system is designed for the people to go to the next level of government, and that is you, and we appreciate you standing behind the people.
Thank you for your attendance and your comments.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thanks for coming.
All right, next we've got, through our regular calendar, next the consent calendar.
General meeting minutes of March 29.
Move.
Second. Motion by Weiss, second by Pikert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claims.
Move.
Motion by Weiss,
Second.
second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Abatements.
Well, that didn't go so well.
Huh?
That didn't go so well, I feel when it's an aye.
Motion by Weiss.
No nays.
Aye. Oh, second.
Second by Pikert. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
A little lonely.
Motion carries.
I thought maybe I did something wrong for a minute there.
South Dakota Public Insurance Alliance, memorandum of criminal liability coverage.
Move.
Second. Motion by Feldheim, second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Leases.
Move. Second.
Motion by Gage, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Auditor's report of accounts.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Pikert, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Out-of-state travel request.
Move.
Motion by Weiss.
Second.
Second by Feldheim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
You bringing trinkets back?
He hasn't left it.
Yeah.
Need and Pest, South Dakota grant award.
Move.
Second. Motion by Weiss, second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other business to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? Now, we have scheduled an executive session as requested.
Oh, well, I guess I just put that on there in case you needed one.
Oh,
It was on the
okay.
agenda. Maybe that's
We
misleading.
assumed.
As you requested.
We were wondering what this one was about.
No.
We assumed there was one.
Oh, we could reword that, that might be confusing.
Okay. Now we all feel better, we were worried.
Just want to bring up a little bit of a concern about the
Oh, I know. I don't mean to-
lineup of the agenda.
Yep.
It's a little bit hard for the public to know when to come in. I mean, we might be able to alleviate some of the confusion if we leave some time on there. I don't know, maybe that's not
I
a
can
concern.
comment on the time slots, we never follow them.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, if you've got a potential hour-long meeting, and we don't know how fast we're gonna get through the items, you can have some of these folks that are really tight for time, you kind of restrict their ability to come in and participate in the meeting. I know where you're at, Kathy, I understand 100%, but at the same time, these folks, you know, some of them sat here for 45 minutes when they really probably, we could, you know,
If we do time slots, will you guys stick to them and cut some of the chatter down?
And that's part of the problem, very seldom are we ever on schedule when we did have a specific time.
Well, what we can and might want to consider is when we have agenda items like that, and it becomes apparent, we can actually alter the agenda and move them around.
Yep, you guys have that option, like, we could have bumped the application to the top today.
Front end load the stuff that a lot of people are.
when these people are here.
Yeah, we can do that on the fly when we approve the agenda, to simply say that we're
Some of
gonna.
these guys that are here, big cattle feed, I mean, they're,
No, that's a good point, and that's something
Yeah.
that we can do when it's obvious that we have that many people.
Yeah, I like that. It's just-
So if
yeah.
we give potential contentious item, and move that to the bottom or whatever.
Give it a shot.
Go back to the time slot and give it a try.
Well, I think we should keep this new format, but just move the items to the top when we have a public hearing.
Yeah, we can do that in the morning when we approve the agenda, to say, why are you all here? If it's for
Item
this
number 5
item, we
will become
can,
item number 3.
yeah,
Sure. Okay.
sounds like a plan.
just for convenience and. for-
All right, is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Pikert, second by Weiss to adjourn, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries, we are adjourned.